All right. Hey, good evening, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson, the Ring of Hire Show. Hey, tonight's a great discussion. You remember that old saying, you're fired. So we're going to have a group discussion here on some of the topics that go along with your being fired, right? So we'll be right back after this. That ends so quick, that video. I got to figure out how to extend it out. It scares the living hell out of you when you're doing that. Hey, tonight, the discussion, it's one of the topics that people don't like. Well, you see it on LinkedIn all the time, how they're talking about it. Is, you're fired. You are fired. You are fired. You're terminated, right? I don't know about you if you noticed this week on LinkedIn, though, but man, there's a lot of people who got new jobs. Last night, I sat there, I was like 10 in a row. Congratulations, congratulations. Everybody must be quitting their jobs or getting fired, right? And finding new ones. But on a serious note, for those who have been fired, or if you want to say let go again, ending of assignment, you're laid off. Either way, you're being let go by the company. It's hard. It is, if it didn't come expected, right? If you didn't know anything about it, or if it threw you off guard, that's not right there. But I always say, if you know anybody that enjoys letting people go or terminating or fire them, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong if you enjoy that. I don't like it being done. And in staffing and management, you've done it for a long time, for many years. I don't care who you are. If you're not nervous the night before, or before you call that candidate or employee into the office, you're going to change their lives. You need to be, honest with yourself, and it's okay to be nervous. That is normal. That's what I like. But some people just like, I like to get rid of that person. It's not that easy. You really want to, there's your type of employees that are, the ones that just want to get fired. The ones that really don't care. You've said everything to them. They've had poor performance, attendance. They don't really care. Those, you might get a little bit good feeling of just letting the person go, and there they go, right? But I still don't take that too lightly when you do that. I mean, if you come across too strong, your employees see that, and word gets around. Just do it with professionalism, regardless of when you're letting a person go. But then there's your employees that are really, really good. Why do good employees get let go? When you go back into a company maybe that you work for, and you see the good people gone, you're like, what the hell happened? Some of them get fired, and I don't even like that word, terminated, whatever you want to use. Fired, I think, was used back in the 70s and 80s, if you want to say you're fired, But when you're looking at letting somebody go, if you've learned anything as you evolve as a leader and a manager, make sure you have everything well documented. If you're letting, all your ducks in a row, but make sure you have it in there for everything that's been going on, why you're letting that employee go. Just going into a meeting of that you're going to let somebody go and you don't have everything written down, or you're just going to wing it. It ain't going to happen. It doesn't go well. I can tell you that. And these are my opinions, respectively. These are my opinions through my experience of all the years of just, letting people go. Or, one time in my career, I'm going to go off topic. I was let go. I was only there for 3 weeks, employment at will, at that will in the state of Pennsylvania. I have an idea. I know what it was about, but there's nothing you can do when it's at will. Technically, they can just let you go. But there's stuff that what we're going to talk about here is you got to have something on that candidate. You don't want to just let them go. It's not good practice. It's not good practice for your company. It's not good practice for your name online. Jesus, you go on Google, like all the reviews, and you're going to hear it. Better be prepared for it. If you're not doing it right and properly, you're going to hear it. Because you need to be treated fairly, with empathy. You got to let the candidates know that you're not going to go in there and just be all cocky and this is the way it goes. You want to prepare for it. You want to know who's going to be in a meeting with you, right? Normally HR, but if you don't have an HR department, you might be called in for a witness. I had that happen once. I didn't like it. It was against one of my colleagues, and I was called in to go over, and it was actually to sit in on a meeting, and I knew her very well, and they were terminating her, and I didn't know that. I knew once I got in there. I didn't like that very much. I did not. I don't like to do that. I just didn't like that feeling, because you're just being there as a witness, just to have that one person there. I think those days might be gone. But this was only about 8 years ago, probably. But it's not a good practice there either to bring somebody else in that has nothing to do with it. I didn't care for that, and that's the truth. But who you're going to have in a meeting is, if it's the supervisor that was letting you go, make sure that supervisor's there. Don't send somebody else in to do your dirty work. Make sure that person that has been reviewing that candidate, has been going over that candidate, and had the employee in the office, and you've taken him, he or she towards the steps. Verbal, most companies are like a verbal, written, final, termination. If you've gone through everything with a good employee, don't always go. Let's just say for the main topics, let me just go with that. When you look at some of the reasons they let go, I was looking up some behavior, right? Common reasons, the majority of the time is behavior that gets people terminated. Again, you got to have everything lined up, your ducks in a row there. Make sure everything is documented through the whole process, and you're not going to have any problems. If you don't, that's sometimes what you're going to have the problems, what you got to be careful for. Performance. This is the most important one. It's probably one of the most difficult too, because if you've given that employee so many chances, right? You really tried as a leader. If you can't sit back and say, you know what, I helped that person. I helped develop. I tried to get that person to commit to a project that didn't get completed. I gave them the tools. You've done every single thing you have done. Then you might let them go for job performance, but always look around. If that person, you sometimes you see somebody with like 7 to 10 years, right? Wow, they just got let go. If they're not that bad of an employee, you might just think about moving them. Maybe ask that person before you do, or while you're doing it. Not while you're doing it, because they're probably going to say yes, but through your reviews and everything, look at it and send them somewhere. Maybe they could work in a different department under a different supervisor. Always weigh your options before you're going in to make that definite determination that you're going to terminate. Because if you get into those meetings, and I don't care, I've been in them. I've been in those meetings to where, and I was listening, and in my mind, in my thought process too, I was like, wow, I don't know if this is right. This person wasn't given this chance. And that's what you want to watch out for, because if you're not prepared, nowadays, most of the employees that go into a meeting that kind of know, they're prepared, and they could bring up some things in that meeting that you're going to be like, whoa, that right there is a game changer sometimes. So I always left the door myself before termination. I would always be like, all right, I'm going to terminate in my mind. This is a complete termination. But in the back of my mind, if something came out that I was like, I didn't know about, and it had kind of relevance, like it was like, if this is true, then you might want to just go towards that. I would have changed my mind, and I would have been like, right off the bat, I would be like saying, okay, we're going to, suspend you right now, or, investigation, just go home and we're going to be in touch. I've done that because as a manager, you didn't know about these certain things. And let me tell you, HR is great. I always say that. I don't care. I'm going to say it on every show. HR still scares the living hell out of me. I don't really care, because you're never called into HR for saying, Dave, you're doing a great job. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. HR is just, I don't care who you are. If you're called in, it's not to say you're doing a great job. Something's wrong, but that's what's happened back in the day. Things are changing right now. So we want HR to be friendly. And I always say HR cannot fix what they don't know is not broken. So if it's broken, they don't know. Reach out to them before it gets to this point. If you know you're a good employee and you've been written up, right? You've had your reviews. You've tried every single thing. Be honest with your HR department. Prior to all this, you could stop some of it on the way if you really want to stay with that employee. Some companies have their mind made up and they're just going to let you go. It doesn't matter what you do. You're in that meeting. Listen, when you're in that meeting, I was reading a couple things. They say this: do consider your decision before, like I told you, right? Don't fire someone without warning, right? Do let them know in person, all right? Don't get someone else to do your dirty work. Do give them an explanation. Don't do it in front of an audience. That's the worst thing you can do. Do allow employees to ask questions, all right? Don't make it personal and get personal. I like that. Do's and don'ts, do's and don'ts. But if you think about that makes a lot of sense. But sit there and listen to the employee, what they have to say. They can sense you in a meeting. And what I mean by that is, like, regardless, I told her, be honest, show empathy, be prepared. Don't drag it on. If you know you're going to get rid of this person, don't drag it on. Your body posture can do a lot when you walk into a meeting, even when you're going to terminate people. If you're sitting back, the way you're sitting, the way your eye contact is important. You've gone over it numerous times before you're going to let that employee go. You feel confident, because at the end of the day, if you're going to let that person go, you want to make it sure it goes across professional. You've given them the opportunity. Always keep in mind, reverse that role. How would you feel if you're on the opposite side? I always say that when you're terminating an employee for just cause, it's still terminating somebody, and you're changing not their life, but everybody else's, their family. And you have to think on that all the time. You got to think of the family behind it, what you're going to change in that moment. You're going to change that employee's whole life if they didn't expect this. If they didn't expect it, something's wrong also, because they should have had forewarning plenty of times before. You just don't fire somebody for just one reason, unless there's a lot of different scenarios, like safety. Come on. I mean, everybody knows safety is the most important part. If they've stepped out and they've done something so wrong that it just considers that you're gonna walk them out, especially with something like that. But just be real careful on a lot of different things. One of the questions always were, what is the best day? What is the best day to terminate an employee? It was on LinkedIn. It was LinkedIn. Don't get in trouble for it, right? LinkedIn. Terminate employees on Tuesdays. To terminate Tuesday. How's that? That really rhymes good, right? Terminate Tuesday. And it was a study done, and LinkedIn was involved. But terminate, because employees will have time to digest. They'll be able to reach out for you for benefits. What about vacation time? The severance package, right? They're saying, if you do it on a Friday, the weekend, You know what I mean? You got the whole weekend going on, and the person's going to have a lot of other time. Mondays are busy, so Tuesday terminate. So think of that. What time of day? That's always asked. What time of day do you let somebody go? In the AM, middle of the day, during the end of the day. I personally, I would do it on at the end of the day when people would start to leave. I would ask, or the employee would know prior, at the end of the day. And as long as no one says, as long as nobody in your team knows about it, if not, somebody's always going to say, hey, they're letting Joe go. They're letting Cindy go. You know, they're going to say that. And what happens there is, wow, you got a tense office of people. You have a tense office because they know if you do it earlier, they're going to know what's going on. And when that person comes out, listen, you've got to have empathy. You don't know what state of mind, being upset. It's not great for the team to see. And I've seen that go both ways. I don't like it. I wish you could do it somewhere else, not within that building. I wish you could just take it away and let somebody go there. I'm not sure if they let people go. I'm sure they have on virtual, on video now, with all the teams and everything like that, I'm sure, during COVID. But you got, personally, end of the day, that's me. You do it early in the morning. You do that in the morning, it just causes nothing but also staffing problem all day long, because people are upset. They see you packing your stuff up. They see you leaving. You got to be careful there. So just think of the employees, everybody, while you're doing this. That's just some of my advice there. Again, when it comes to terminating employees, I've always been asked, and I've had it happen, the high risk. What if you don't know what's going to happen? You know, it's a really an employee that's really vocal. You don't know which way it's going to go. So you always want to talk to your colleagues prior. You want to come up with a plan. You want to talk with them and say, hey, listen, you know, we got to have this right. Or what are we going to do if this person starts yelling and screaming? You know, you keep that in the back of your mind. Even as a young supervisor, some of the newer supervisors don't realize that can happen. And if you've never been in those meetings like that, it's going to go. So you want to assess the risk all the time. That's what I say. Think about it. Control, contain, stabilize the situation. When an employee's getting really vocal, you don't really want to get into a shouting match. You start doing that, it's going to go the wrong way. It's going down. You got to just diffuse the situation. If you can do it on video, or you can do a high risk, or do it off premises somehow with a high risk, there's all different options that you can do. Because that person goes haywire, starts yelling, screaming, what are you going to do? It sounds easy. Oh, I would just say this or say that. It's not. It is uncomfortable for everyone, because now you got to get the person's stuff. So not only do you want to, some people will let the candidate go, and then they'll pack up their stuff and then UPS or something ship that to them. Some, if it's just basic, they're coming out and getting their stuff. But there's a whole bunch of different kind of things that can go wrong on you. So really look at how you want to terminate people, and think of the things that can go wrong, and then think of the things that can go positive. But think of empathy. Don't drag it on. You go in those meetings. If you know what you're doing, I'm going to end it here. If you know what you're doing, do it swift, and let the person leave, but be professional about it. And that's about the best thing I can say. But it's always a discussion that people, I don't know, it's a hard thing, because if you've been terminated, you know the feeling. And you know the feeling that you've been in that office when somebody's been terminated. They're the kind of things that it's tough. So as a new supervisor, please, if you just got into being a supervisor, you want to talk with your colleagues, your friends. What do you do about this? What do you do about that? if you're not writing them up for attendance, if you're not following that attendance policy, if you're not saying, you know what, verbal, written, final, termination, right, for attendance or work performance, once you deviate from that, that's where you start to run into problems. Because if you don't terminate or let go people that you know are abusing the system, right, you're just setting yourself up for failure there. Because then when you really want to end somebody, other employees watch that stuff. They write that stuff down. They're going to say, wait a minute here. This person was let go and I wasn't. And this person's missed more time than me. You know what I mean? So always think what the employees will see for what your actions are, for what you're doing. And I get it. You know, people have favorites. Listen, people have favorites. And as you evolve as a leader and a manager, you got to really be careful with that, because it happens. It happens, and everything comes from that I'm talking about. It's a lot of experience, and you learn from things that worked 10 years ago that's not going to work right now, and it's not a fun situation to do. So on that note, everybody have a great, I don't even know what it's Tuesday. Have a great Tuesday night, and we'll be back here on Thursday. We're gonna have a great show. We're gonna put a person to work, and I'm excited. So we'll see you soon. I gotta find a video here. There we go.